I'm Amson Sajesh from Billabong High, Mulund. And as we're talking about the income inequalities and the redistribution of wealth, I had this doubt and I wanted to know your opinion. Does a command economy do a better job in redistributing income or wealth than a free market or a mixed economy?
There have many experiments with command economies. Soviet Union was one, China was another. And yes, to some extent, redistribution probably they did manage to do. Unfortunately, these experiments did not succeed. It was actually the Soviet Union was an experiment. China was an experiment. There are still some examples of Vietnam is there, Cuba is there, North Korea, but North Korea, it's such a closed economy, it's such a closed society, we don't really know what is happening. Vietnam is an autocracy, but at the same time, it is opening up. It is not a command economy as such. China gave up the model of command economy in the late 70s, early 80s, when after Mao Zedong died, it was Deng Xiaoping opened up the economy and inequalities increased. In all of these countries, inequalities zoomed after they gave up the command economy model. But the command economy model of China, for example, had many problems. There was an experiment which was called, what was it called now? I can't know. Mao Zedong, there was a time when he...
Are you thinking of the Great Leap Forward or the collectivization?
Yes, Great Leap Forward, where he would say, well, this is how everything has to be done. It was a perfect example of a command economy. It resulted in floods in the country, and it is said that 10 to 13 million people died in famines after that. It's never been quite counted how many people died. So the command economy can have those horrendous problems. So you don't, I don't know whether that is a solution, unfortunately.
I just want to add something that, to what Nalini said. There is a third model, really my favorite, which is called a social democracy. So many of the Scandinavian economies, which were not purely like Soviet Union or China, which were not, purely capitalist-driven systems like UK or the USA. So what they started was basically they started taxing people very sort of, at a high tax rate, and they started to put in, as Pulin was talking about, public education, public health. And if you look at those countries, so Norway, Finland, and so on. So those Scandinavian countries have really done well in many, many different directions. And if you want to look closer home, I think Kerala is a good example, right? So I think there are alternative models. You don't have to go to one extreme or the other. And we can find history tells us there are many other examples which the mixed system, but geared towards public education and public health has done well. And probably that is a third alternative that we should explore seriously. That's my personal view.
And I'm going to add, actually, I'm taking a very similar position. There will be a few exceptions of authoritarian command rule which have done very well. Singapore is an example, Lee Kuan Yew, and it's done very well. But if you look at authoritarian leaders across the world, vast majority are absolute disasters. They've ruined the economy, exploited. So on balance, it is a mixed economy, a social democracy where people have the ability to throw out the leader if they don't like. That is just crucial, I feel, in the long run, because otherwise it's almost like a luck that if you get that one good leader, you do well. Otherwise, it's destructive. It's not worth risking that.
Yes, in the command economy model, yes, you can expect a closer distribution of, not skewed, but a closer distribution of income. No question about that. But it would restrict individual proclivities in different forms in a way that people would feel sort of constrained. Now, this is given a freer play in an open economy or in a mixed economy, where, again, income inequalities will emerge and they can get accentuated. But one way to deal with it is to, in terms of taxation, tax the rich at a very high rate. Kaushik talks about it. Moshmi also mentioned it. And offer advantages by way of education and health and etc. from the bottom end through expenditure. So by combining tax and expenditure policies, you can try to sort of narrow the distribution profile.
And I want to put in a note to what Pulin just said. The command economy can give you greater equality, but it also did not. There are these horrific crony leaders who have taken control, and it's all been ultimately for them and their 4-5 friends. So it could go completely that other. Yeah, Putin is an example. World is full of those examples. Once you get a huge control, with a few people, you rise even bigger and the inequality goes through the roof. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What? But if you leave it, the command authority with the leader, once the leader begins to morph into someone evil, you're trapped. So you must have a system of social democracy where a leader can be thrown out by ordinary people not wanting the leader. Yeah.